Okay, ZBA, you are live, you are recording, phone lines are open, you are good to go.
Welcome everybody. Tonight, before we get started, I'd like to make a few announcements, being that we have some changes this year for 2022. And with that, I would like to, as new chairman of the board, make a tribute to our past chairman, John Whelan, who has served the board well, and I want to thank him for serving the board. He's a man of integrity. We're going to miss him. And John, if you're watching, I know that your fan base is much bigger than mine, so I know our viewership will be dropping. But thank you for your service. I'd like to also welcome a new board member, Denise Savarese. We're excited to have her part of our board. She will be joining us to this side of the dais, as I say. She's served for many, many years as secretary to the zoning board. She's well versed in what we do, and I think she's going to be a great addition to this board. Welcome, Denise. Also would like to welcome the new vice chair, Ed Johan. Ed, I look forward to you supporting me and working with the board as vice chair. And welcome Terry Berger as a reassigned member by the town board. So it's been a busy month for the town board in their designations. And of course, Tim Brenneman, who is an ongoing member of the ZBA. Welcome. I thank you too. With that, I also want to welcome a new attorney and counsel to the board, Jennifer Nigro. I've met her before the holidays, and I think she's going to be great working with us. I look forward to working with you, Jennifer. And thank you. And of course, our present secretary, Laura McPherson, who's doing a fabulous job. I think Tim has also asked for the floor a little bit. So Tim, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to say you did a terrific job of recognizing the new faces, and I join you in welcoming them. But I'd like to comment on one that you didn't go on about, and would like to say that we're really fortunate as a community and as a board to have someone like you willing to step into the chairman role. As you noted, you have big shoes to fill in replacing former chairman John Whelan. Not everyone knows that you've given the last 30 years of your time, 30 plus years, to this community. First as part of the Licensing Review Board, and most recently now as part of the Zoning Board of Appeals. I'd like to say your background as a contractor is well documented, but your advocacy for the valuable resources that this board is designed to protect is even more impressive. And I'd just like to say we're in great hands with you at the helm. It's a pleasure to welcome you as
Thank you.
In your new role as chairman. So thank you, and back to you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Tim. With that, we'll go ahead. We have a busy night tonight. We have 6 hearings, 2 of them, first 2 being rehearings, modifications. So I'm going to start. I'll read the first one into the record. First one is rehearing Robin Dement at 91 Napeague Harbor Road in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax number 300-110-2-1. The size and location is 12,429 square feet, located at 91 Napeague Harbor Road, Amagansett. Description is to construct the proposed residence as shown on the new building plans. The relief sought, a modification of the zoning board's natural resources special permit and variances determination filed 8/2/218, which granted the demolition of a 1-story residence and construction of a new 1,950 square foot 2-story residence with 710 square foot of first and second floor decking and porches, a sanitary system, a new driveway on a parcel of land containing tidal wetlands, primary dunes and beach vegetation. The zoning district is A residence, AE flood zone elevation 11, and the secret class is type 2. And who is the agent?
I'm Benjamin Goodale, architect of record for the project. Britton Bistrin, the land planning consultant, and Andy Hammer are watching via YouTube, and we'll jump in. We'll call in.
Okay. Are you going to be presenting?
Yes.
Okay, your name and spell it and where and your address.
Benjamin Goodale, BenjaminGoodale. I reside at 39 Payne Avenue, Payne, Sag Harbor, New York.
Okay, great. And will you raise your right hand so I can swear you in? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, you may proceed.
So
Before we present council, do we have the affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, we do, and everything appears to be in order.
Okay, and one last thing, Tyler, I asked Tyler, I took a few photos to show the posting and a few existing conditions. Maybe we should do that first, or Brian Frank is sharing. And as you can see, the property was properly noticed. Next. Just a few photos showing what we have. This is the house that is going to be demolished. That is, members, that if you remember the original hearing, those were on the board at that time. This is the gazebo that's on the bluff, and there was, Brian will probably reference a little bit later, is the bluff, the structure that is going to be removed. And a pay photo of the coastline. And then just looking back at the house, it's going to be rose. That's like, okay, go ahead, Benjamin.
Okay, so this project has been years in development, like many projects, and in the development and evolution of the design, we've and compared to the drawings that were submitted as part of the original ZBA application and approval, we've made some minor modifications, which we believe to be ultimately fairly minor, and we've endeavored to work within the overall footprint, and where we've made changes to the footprint, the changes have essentially decreased the nonconformity, or we've essentially moved away from the various setbacks that were established and variances that were granted. So in the original, and I'm not sure if you're looking on at the site plan, if you're able to pull up the site plan, the survey that was prepared by Saskis. But in the original, in the approved version, there was an exterior staircase on the west side, or the water facing side of the house. And in our latest plan, that was shifted. It's essentially the same footprint, and it was shifted to the south. And so the northwest corner of that staircase is actually further from the dune crest than it was previously. So in slightly increasing the setback from that water bluff wetlands buffer. On the east side of the house, there was a roofed staircase, and which served as the primary entry to the house, which was located on the east side of the house, was removed, and the ground level exterior storage for garbage and recycling excuse me, just reading back through this, sorry. So essentially on the east side of the house, there was a roofed staircase, and then on the opposite side of the garage, there was exterior storage area, and these were essentially combined into at the grade level, it's an exterior storage like recycling garbage, and at the first floor level, it's an enclosed mechanical room. So the original submission was a fairly early development of the project architecturally, and in the further development, there was insufficient mechanical space. So what we did was utilize that footprint of what was already a roofed structure, essentially, to create a mechanical room on the east side of the house. We essentially made the house slightly skinnier east to west, so that the east point or east edge of the proposed mechanical room did not come any closer to the east property line. And where the mechanical room was previously the primary entry, and in this reconfiguration, the primary entry and associated roof was relocated to the ground level and reoriented to face the south. So it's on the where it says proposed covered deck at the sort of T-shaped area. That's the front entry. The footprint of the new roof of that front entry is fully within the footprint of the building that was previously proposed. So, except for this shift of the stairs on the west, and a minor tweaking of the footprint, overall the total GFA came down. I think we reduced the GFA by a square foot or two, and the footprint was nearly identical. So essentially, we've had to just revise slightly, but overall, the total footprint and the overall configuration of the house and the look of the house is much the same. And I believe that one of the reasons we came in for the modification is that when you look into the definition of the modification, that if there's any modification to the egress pathway, and so being that this is the front door, we fell into that area where we came before the board again. So that, I think that's the changes that we've made. And if you bring up, can you bring up the elevations as well? Just show each of these items here. So on the bottom of the page, the bottom elevation shows the west staircase.
Sorry, that's too big.
Sorry, excuse me. So on the bottom elevation, this is the west-facing elevation. And that's the staircase that was shifted to the south. The top elevation on the sort of lower right-hand corner, or just to the right of center, is the new entry door and covered roof. And on that top elevation, on the very right hand side, the upper portion of it is the mechanical room, and the lower portion is the enclosure, the essentially garbage and recycling and exterior storage enclosure. I think that you could flip to the next elevation page. See if there's anything that's relevant. We stayed within the allotted, or the pyramid plane relief that had been granted, and so essentially we tried to work within what we have and conform. So we're not asking to come like any closer to any of, we're not looking to increase the nonconformity in any way. Essentially, it's some minor architectural modification to some of these elements. So on the top elevation, on the left side, that's the other side of the mechanical room and the storage. And which you also see then in the middle of the lower elevation, sort of just right of center on the first floor above grade.
And Benjamin, you're also staying within the allotted height of the building as well. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. No changes to the elevation. That there was everything here was called out very, specifically in the original variance. So the max elevation, the first floor elevation, the proposed, existing and final grade at the entrances to the house are all as per the original approval.
Okay. Anybody else on your side need to present, or should we turn?
No, I think that's the gist of it.
Okay, great. Brian, should we go to the planning department? Or do any board members have any questions for Benjamin? Let's go to that first. No? Okay, Brian.
Good. Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Welcome, Council Nigro and Member Savarese. I'm also going to give a little bit of a background of the application, especially for the benefit of Member Savarese and Johan, who were not on the board when this was approved in 2018. I guess you have to swear me in.
Well, yes, Brian, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. So the property is located at the northern end of Napeague Harbor Road. This is the property here. It adjoins state parkland to the north and an unopened spur of that's still technically part of Napeague Harbor Road to the south. As the chairman had mentioned, the application was approved for a demolition of the existing residence and the approval of a 1,950 square foot two-story house with about 700 square feet of first, second story decks and porches and patios, a new sanitary system. And it did receive a fairly significant number of variances. The existing house actually, kind of hard to tell from the survey, but if from this aerial, but it actually goes over the property line a little bit. So the house was obviously very as non-conforming as possible to side yard setbacks to the north and as well as pyramid. The new residence was approved 61.2 feet from the wetlands. The deck was approved about 60 feet from the wetlands. A variance was granted to allow the house to be located 10.4 feet from the northern side yard property line where 15 is required, and 3 pyramid variances were granted. A pyramid variance of a little over 6 feet was granted to the northern property line, 8 feet 3 inches to the southern property line, and 10.5 feet to the eastern or the street side of the property line. The residence was also granted a 3 foot maximum, a 3 foot variance from the maximum height limitation for flat roof structure. The planning department has reviewed the survey and the building plans. I think Mr. Goodale gave you an overview of what the modifications are. They're more or less reconfiguration of some of the approved structures, the addition of a mechanical room, a coat closet, staircase reconfigurations on the inside of the house. And this application is, generally consistent with what the planning department would, what used to be characterized routinely as modifications, which are reserved for minor changes to already approved projects. I'm going to switch over to the survey for a second. Just to give you a little bit of bearings, I know there's a lot going on the survey. The wetland setbacks were to the really the only functional bulkhead on the property, the landwardmost bulkhead. That's where you can see the tidal wetland setbacks are measured from. And there is a low dune crest landward of that the coastal setbacks were granted from. The application did mitigation. Among the mitigation measures required were the establishment of this 40-foot buffer. This is the existing clearing boundary on the property, or had been the traditional clearing boundary. The revegetation in this area consisting of a combination of beach grass, seaside goldenrod, bayberry, and beach plum, will establish that 40-foot buffer. If you compare the survey that was approved in 2018 to the one that's under consideration tonight, there is an 80 square foot increase in building coverage. That's pretty nominal. And there's just under a 100 square foot reduction in total lot coverage. So falls within the parameters of minor differences. There was a lot of scrutiny in the history of this application. The first application for a somewhat larger house was denied in 2016, I think it was, and the application was resubmitted and approved. One thing I do want to point out, just in the interest of clarity, in the original application, there was some shoreline restoration work, or what was proposed as shoreline restoration work that wasn't incorporated into the project. And I think some relics of that are still on this survey now. You can see there's a notation to remove the rocks along the shoreline and plant beach grass. And there's a notation for beach grass planting in the upper right-hand corner of the survey. I want to show you a couple of photos of the shoreline just to kind of remind you what the conditions are like here. So this is near the northern property line, looking south. This is the gazebo that showed up in Chair Galene's site photo. Up here, this bulkhead is really the only functional bulkhead. Back in the 70s, there was a kind of timber tiered shoreline stabilization plan that was approved. It didn't really work very well. And in the approval of 2018, the applicant agreed to remove these two timber tiers here and cut this older bulkhead down to ground level. Instead of excavating it out, just cut it down to ground level. And the idea behind that is to allow a more natural tidal flow as the tide comes in Napeague Harbor. But what you see in the photo here, this is probably the best photo. This is salt hay or high marsh cordgrass, Spartina patens. There is some beach grass up near the bulkhead here, but the planning department is satisfied with no planting. If they do want to plant a little Spartina, I don't see a problem with that. Spartina is sometimes a little finicky to get established, but these lower elevations especially are not well suited to beach grass. It's too wet, it's too salty. Just a couple of other views to show you. This is kind of pretty much in the same spot, but looking north. This is part of Hither Hill State Park to the north. Closer to the gazebo, and these are some of these larger rocks that the planning department believes the removal of these would definitely improve the quality of the shoreline habitat. It would allow the vegetation to kind of colonize naturally on its own. It would allow for better forage area for shorebirds, use of this area for breeding by horseshoe crabs. Again, you can see the functional bulkhead is a true functional bulkhead. This old one here is low and doesn't do much, and obviously those timber tiers in the first photo aren't doing anything. So just as a point of clarification, removing these stones is excellent. Removing the timber tiering is required by the zoning board's permit. The condition didn't require any planting. And planting beach grass in an area that is likely to be tidally inundated is probably a waste of resources. I think it's appropriate to remove the foreign materials and let the area naturalize on its own. I think that's everything I wanted to share with the board. If anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to answer.
Does anybody have any questions? And Terry, you might have been trying to unmute when for questions for the applicant. So I don't know if that was the case or not.
No, I did want to see the survey again, and then Brian brought that up, and I had a question about what he just discussed here. So,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question about the parcel that's notated as being the unnamed road. Mr. Frank said that that was an extension of Nappy Harbor Road, and I'm wondering, when you visit the site, Brian, could you put that area you had? Yeah, there you go. You can see that the driveway that is on that unnamed road kind of serves both the house to the south and the applicant's parcel. And I know that the proposed driveway moves further north. What do we know about the general future of this parcel in between? Was it properly used as a driveway before? Will it go back to natural vegetation? What's the situation with that? Just so we know.
I don't have a factual answer for you, Member Johan. It's my speculation that that area will continue to be the driveway for the adjoining property to the south.
And we don't have a problem with that because this is not really in your jurisdiction because it's a roadway? Is that what our situation is with that?
Well,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It is off the applicant's property, so their ability to control it is questionable.
Yeah. It's just more of a general question. I'm wondering about it because I see the condition it's in. It probably shouldn't have been raised now. Thank you.
Okay, Matt, is there anybody from the public waiting? Callers?
We do have 3 callers on the line.
Okay, you want to give them a try?
Okay, so first one I'm going to unmute is 3357.
Hello, caller. Are you here for this application? Hello?
Last 4 digits of 3357. You're on.
Okay, let's go to next.
Okay, last 4 digits of 1000.
Hello, caller. 1000.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Richard A. Hammer. I think I can at least add a little bit of clarity to the question about the unnamed road or the extension of Napeague Harbor Road. I actually represent both of these owners. I think I followed this through, and that was a road that was mapped on the original filed maps of the area. So not only do these applicants, but everybody in the area that's on part of that filed map have rights over that road. So they don't have control over it, nor could they abandon it because it is used by some of the other members, I think, for beach access or parking or whatever. So it's a private road, but it does have benefits that extend beyond these properties. So in that regard, I just want to say, yeah, they don't control it, but their use of it is absolutely allowable under the title issues. Actually, it's a trustee road. That's okay. Britton's texting me. It's a trustee road, and that was the question, but I think they have rights over it, so do the trustees, and it's being retained for that purpose, beach access.
Thank you. Any other callers?
Would you like to try the last one again?
Sure.
Last four digits of 3357. We're unmuting.
Hello, caller. Are you a part of this hearing application? Okay, if there are no other callers, I think we can move on.
Yes, there's 0 additional callers.
Okay, with that, I'll make a motion then to close the public hearing for Robin Diamond at 91 Napeague Harbor Road, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-110-2-1, and keep the record open until 2 weeks after the transcripts are posted on the town's website.
And I'll second.
I concur.
I concur.
I concur.
Okay. All right, moving on, we have our next rehearing, which is Frank Davis, 42 Captain Kidd's Path, Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-004-01-02. The applicant is Frank Davis. The size and location is 12,362 square feet at 42 Captain's Kidd's Path, Montauk Peninsula Syndicate map number 4279 in Montauk. The description is to allow additions to and existing residents to remain as constructed. The relief sought is a modification to the zoning board's natural resources special permit and variances determination filed 7/11/2019, which granted the construction of a total of 1,310 square foot of additions, which approximately 1,000 square foot of second story decking and balconies, a 300 square foot swimming pool with patio, and an updated sanitary system on a property within jurisdiction of tidal wetlands and bluffs. The zoning district is a B residence zone X, flood zone, secret class type 2. Terry or Ed, do you have a report?
Yeah, I do have a few photos that I took also around the property. Tyler has them. Okay, so this is the official notice and posting. It was properly posted. Next, this is quite a bit different. Size-wise and GFA and all that, it's pretty similar to the original approval, but the configurations have changed pretty dramatically. This two-story addition that you see there, the black and the section attached to the garage and the house, this is part of the modification that's being requested. Originally, there was a one-story extension to join the house to the garage that would be on the northern side of the property. And in the front, on the left side there of the house, there was an extension, more modest extension that was approved in our original determination. And I'm just going to walk around the house. Next. Okay. There was, this is a comment I have to have. There was a lot of debris on this site. There was a dumpster also that was completely filled and uncovered. And I think as a result of that, the winds that are kind of typical out there blew this around. And I'd like the applicant to address what's going to be done about that. But next. And this is the northwestern side of the house. And this is where originally, where you see that two-story deck, there was going to be part of the addition, a little bit of a bump out from the existing house with an extension over it and decking. And there was not an approved deck, I believe, on the first floor. And that is slated now, I believe, to be a deck as part of the modification. Next. That's showing the northern part of the house, the first floor level of where there's construction. You can see doors on the side, so it looks like that's being prepped for decking also. And next. And that's a shot across the back of the house on the north side from looking from west to east. And just to show the neighbor next door, and that concrete on the concrete on the ground there, that's the initial form for the pool that had been approved in our determination. And next. This is a shot of the back of the house, and the part on the left is where the one-story extension had been approved on the original, and the garage was approved to construct a bedroom above the garage. There was going to be a one-story extension from the garage over to this part of the main house. And that might be it. Next, I don't know if there's another one. Okay, that was it.
Okay, do we have, counsel, do we have proper affidavit of posting?
We do, and the paperwork appears to be in order.
Okay. Do we have the applicant here?
Yes, Daniel Michaels, architect here, representing the application.
Hey, Dan, can you spell your name?
Sure. DANIEL MICHELS.
Okay. And can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you may proceed.
Sure. Thank you, board members. Representing this modification this evening. I am not the original architect for the project that was initially approved. From my understanding, he fell very ill during the approval process and became unavailable to the homeowner Upon receiving approval and the building permit, the builder asked the architect to retain someone else, or asked the homeowner to retain someone else to help him gather more information to properly price, schedule, and construct the project. The plans were a little bit sparse, so that was the time that I was hired. I helped complete these plans, and as the pricing came back, the homeowner, as typical, came back and asked, how could we bring the cost of this project down? It's gone much higher than I was anticipating. So I was going to share my screen, but I see here both surveys are shown. So initially, this here on the right is the approved survey. So you see the addition on the west side, the addition on the south side, and the addition linking the existing two-story residence with the existing detached garage. The red is the decking, and then a swimming pool at grade. The survey on the left here shows that we eliminated the addition on the west, we eliminated the addition on the south, and we altered the addition between the existing residence and the garage, but it remains in the same location. And we additionally pulled it back slightly to be flush with the existing house, where formerly it extended a little bit towards the wetlands. The decking on the back remains the same. The swimming pool remains the same. And we did add a deck at grade on that west side that was shown in the photograph. The total lot coverage that was approved was 5,943, which remains the same with our proposed alterations. The allowable building coverage was reduced from 2,463 to 2,360, where the allowable was 2,526. I do believe that this modification, not only benefited the homeowner because by reducing from 3 additions to 1, he streamlined the build and saved some money, but there is less of an impact to the site. We eliminated the need to excavate on the west and south side of the house, so we save on concrete that needed to be poured. We eliminate the need to remove that excavated fill from the site. We also eliminated the need for the construction materials to construct those 2 additions, and the demolition that was involved on both of those sides of the house. So eliminating further waste into the landfill. The alteration that was approved originally was modified slightly, but pulled back from the wetlands between the 2 buildings. And as part of the initial approval, the owner has installed a nitrogen reducing system, which is outside of the 150-foot wetland setback. And we will be revegetating the property, which was pre-existing 100% cleared, into the current clearing code. The original approvals remained as intended. There is reduction in disturbance to the site, and there was modification to that addition linking the buildings, but I do believe that what we have proposed and what was completed was in kind with what was approved.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. Board members, any questions?
Well, concern, we talked about the demolition and the disturbance to the site. The site is pretty disturbed, generally around the entire property. I'd like Mr. Michaels to, address the garbage that's running, that's getting blown around. And
yeah, that
we want to clear that up. And also, how did you account for the character of the neighborhood in making this change, moving some of the extensions of the house to the west side? and creating that large 2-floor extension and extending it further to the south than was originally approved also.
Sure. I'd like to speak to the trash. I have been requesting that it has to be cleaned. I have cleaned it several times myself. Apparently the cover has blown off the dumpster, and I was there just last week and there was not that garbage there. So it must have happened over the last few days, and I will have that taken care of tomorrow immediately. The builder has gone through a tragedy with his family. His daughter was in a terrible accident, so it's been hard to communicate with him lately, but I will have that taken care of tomorrow for sure. And in regards to the character of the neighborhood, the addition, I'm just going to share my screen really quickly. Okay. So the additions here that was originally 1 story is now 2-story, as we've discussed. And then this was a 2-story addition, and this was a 2-story addition. So by eliminating those, the house that exists to the south here actually has unencumbered views out to the water, where formerly they were disturbed by these 2 additions. Looking over this 1-story addition that's now 2 stories, you look directly at the roof of a house to the north, which is on the water. So the neighbors' views of the water are not affected by shifting these additions over to this addition here. So we felt it was appropriate a change.
Yeah, it does affect the views from the street, though, as was shown in the photos of anybody who's just going by. I did have another question. You said there is a re-veg plan, and I believe maybe Tyler can show that to us.
I have it here too. I could share if you'd like.
Yeah, let's take a look at that.
So this is very similar to the original approved re-veg plan that was done by Jim Grimes. And we have also included this area here was basically just brambles and was cleared out, and we're going to be revegetating with bayberries, pasture rose, some cedar. And all along the south side is bayberries, and along this side as well, bayberries, some shad bush, and some cedars for screening, which follows suit to what was originally proposed. It's very similar to the original plan, which I can show you here as well. This was the original. So re-veg here along the property line, some re-veg along the back north side, and then along here. This was shown as undisturbed, but it really was just messy, and so we're going to clean that up and replant and pretty much follow what was shown here.
Okay, now, as you were looking for that, you had a photo of the before of the house. Could you just show us briefly?
That was the rendering from the original architect.
Yeah, so that was the original look of it.
Correct.
Okay. Now, you want to keep all the decking, the applicant wants to keep all the decking on the western side that was originally slated for the extensions. Would you be willing to covenant that portion of those decking and would never be enclosed or requested to be enclosed?
I think, sure, that's a reasonable request. Absolutely.
Okay.
You mean not covered by a roof?
Right.
Second floor deck.
Right. Not become part of living space, interior living.
I mean, I would consult with the owner, but I don't see any issues with that myself.
Okay. And I just have one more question. I believe the amount of bedrooms was 4 bedrooms to start with on this and is remaining 4 bedrooms.
Correct.
I believe that's what I said. Okay. All right. That's my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anybody else? No, then if we can go to planning, Tyler.
Sure, absolutely. Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department.
Tyler, if you raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
So this project was originally approved for a 1,310 square foot addition, which with the shifting in the additions is the same number. There was some discrepancies from what I could tell, just doing some basic measurements. But I think what the issue was that originally the number didn't include the addition over the garage, which neither would have. So that didn't change, and I think that's where the discrepancy came from. But the 1,310 square feet, which is the large section now in the center, is the same as the center connection, as well as the west and the southern additions combined. So essentially, they just shifted those into one addition, condensed the footprint essentially, and changed the decking slightly. Overall, it's roughly the same impacts. None of the setbacks have changed. Actually, the additions have gotten further away from wetlands. The decking remains the same because that northwest corner really is the closest point. But other than that, it's very similar as far as impacts on the surrounding natural features compared to what was already approved by the board. Other than that,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No.
Yeah. Now, can you point those out on the survey where the variances are?
Sure.
The ones that
The closest points would be the corner here in the northwest from the wetlands to the decking, and then the additions onto the residence are a little over 100 feet. I think they're like 101 or something like that. So actually, I don't believe they would need a variance anymore.
Okay.
For those, I could measure it out real quick just to make sure that I'm remembering correctly. But I believe they're a little over 100 feet now.
In the original determination, the only variance was for that northwest corner of the deck.
Right.
Okay, anybody have any questions for Tyler?
No more.
If not, Matt, is there any callers?
You have 0 additional callers. Thank you.
Okay, with that, Terry, would you like to close it up?
Okay. Yes, for the matter of the rehearing for Frank Davis, 42 Captain Kidd's Path in Montauk, tax map 300-004-01-02. Make a motion to close the public hearing and to leave the written record open for 2 weeks from the time that the transcript posts on the town website. Anybody going to second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
And I concur as well.
Okay.
I concur.
All right. Next, we have a hearing. It's for Jeff Whelan. I don't know if is that Whelan or Whelan. I would say Whelan. 170 Marine Boulevard, Hampton Dunes, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax number 300-176-04-12. The applicant is Jeff Whelan. Size and location is 15,002 square feet at 170 Marine Boulevard, Hampton Dunes, lot 49, map 4694 in Amagansett. Description is to construct an approximately 740 square feet second-story addition, solar panels on the existing roof, repair an existing shed, repair an existing fence with new gates, replace the existing front porch and an upgraded sanitary system within jurisdiction of setbacks of freshwater wetlands, duneland, and beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resource special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 1 variance is required for this application. 1 variance of 39 feet is required from 255-4-30 of the Town Code in order to construct a second-story addition 61 foot from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setback is required, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence AE flood zone, elevation 10, class type 2. And I think this is Tim. Is this you?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, council, do we have proper affidavit of posting? Service and posting.
Maybe on mute.
Apologies, I lost my screen there. Yes, you do have proper paperwork in order.
Okay, all right. Tim?
Okay, members, I visited the property yesterday, and we're at 170 Marine Boulevard. This is the north side of Marine Boulevard, and as you can see, it was properly posted. Next photo. Now I've just turned and I'm looking into the driveway for our first look at the property. Next photo. Now I've turned to the front of the building. One of the proposed pieces of this is to construct a deck on the front of the property, so you get a sense for what that looks like here. Next photo. Now I've just rotated facing west. This is along the area, and sort of right in front of me, I think, is where the new IA system is proposed. And if you look off in the distance, you can kind of see at the far end of this photo where the current septic system is. Next photo. All right, so now I've walked down to that side toward the west and back toward the home. Again, we're looking at the front door, and I'm going to, on the next photo, swing just over toward the left and get a glimpse of the portion of the house where the second-story addition will be added. Next photo. And so there it is, and that's really where the variance is here. And the proposal is to put a second-story addition over this first story. Next photo. Now I'm to the western side of the property, looking toward the back facing north. What I didn't do here is swing my camera over to the left. Had I would have showed that this property, the ground has really been pushed up here, and the same thing in the neighboring property. And in between is a little bit of a swell in between the two properties. Next photo. Now I've walked to the back. I'm facing east now, so this is the westernmost corner, northwestern corner of the structure, and that is both the shed and I believe the fence that's proposed to be repaired as well. Next photo. Now I've just swung toward the north, and this is an area that is scheduled to be fully revegetated, is in some process of being revegetated today. And it would be the wetlands in this photo would be just sort of to the left side of what I'm picturing here. Next photo. Now we're at the back of the property. The back deck is also scheduled to be replaced. Did a quick photo of that. You can also see the grass. There's reference in the TAM to the grass, and I believe the next photo also gives a little more perspective of the grass in the back. So there it is. So this is the grass area, which I believe, based on the plans that we received that were dated January 15th of 21, indicate that this grass will be removed and it'll all be sand, but the applicant, I'm sure, will be talking about that. And then secondarily here, you can again get a glimpse of the shed that's scheduled to be repaired, and then the wooden fence behind. Next photo. And there's just a closer perspective of the shed and the fence. And that is the last photo I have on this, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tim. Any members have any questions for Tim?
No.
If not, do we have the applicant present?
Hello, this is Kieran Murphy. I'm representing Kieran Pape Murphy. I'm the attorney for the applicants, the owners of the house, Jeff Weidland and Kim Weidland. And this is going to be they're keeping the existing footprint. As you see, this U-shaped property, and they're going to have a 740 square foot addition put kind of in the middle, which was shown. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but before you speak, I would like the chairman to swear you in.
No, she's
I'm an attorney. I'm an attorney.
She's an attorney.
You're an attorney. I apologize.
I'm sorry. I'm an attorney. Sorry.
Right. Apology.
That one.
Yeah,
Professional courtesy. But carry on.
All right. Thank you.
Go ahead, Karen.
Sorry about that. So anyhow, they have already got, it's going to be not increasing the footprint. It's going to be a bedroom on the second floor. They're going to have solar panels on one side, and I think a deck on the other. We're here, the front, they already have approval for a new septic system. What is it? The IAOWTS system. That's been approved, and it's going to be under the existing driveway. Looking at the, so we're not expanding the footprint, and we do need because it is across the street from, north of the ocean. The wetland line kind of goes in the front of the property, and so we need that relief of 39 feet to do that second story addition. I don't know if you have the landscape plan, if you can put that up. It shows, there was talk about, do you have that drawing of the?
Yes, just one moment, I think I should.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
That is, it's going to be, the grass in the back is going to be replaced with sand. And also the north, I guess the southeast area on the sides there, on both sides of the house are going to be replaced with sand. And they're proposing approximately 500 and I'm trying to get the full. We're below all the clearing elements, but yeah, there it is. You can see that they have existing wetland areas, and that the main driveway is the gravel. The septic system will be underneath it in the front, and there's plantings proposed in the front and along the edges of the property. And also, there's not going to be any grass. It's going to be gravel. So that is something, to mitigate this. There's going to be 560 square feet of additional vegetation added by all these plantings. And I haven't heard any comments from the neighbors. And, we respectfully request that you grant this relief from the National Resources Special Permit of 39 feet. I don't know if you have any questions.
Karen, the planning department was recommending the removal of the Rosa rugosa that was as part of the easement revegetation. And I think it'd be a good idea to do that. And as far as any plantings go in the future, be approved by the planning department, but is the applicant willing to replace that Rosa rugosa?
Yes. Okay. So we can replace that and hopefully get you a new plan. Keep the record open to just add that, to make that change. What would you do you have a recommendation of?
Well, I think a lot of times we leave it up to the final plan to be approved by the planning department.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm
Right.
sorry.
So I think we'll make it conditional on that.
Okay, make that a condition. That's great. That would be fine.
Any board members have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. That Tim also noted, as did I, as I drove around the neighborhood, that this area is populated by a number of cottage-style homes. One of our NRSP standards relates to reduced size and the protection of the natural resources. I wanted the applicant to speak about how this meets the natural resource special permit standards, specifically with regard to character of the neighborhood, please.
Okay, well, I think the neighborhood, this particular neighborhood has a variety of architecture. This is not a traditional architectural plan, but style, but it is something that it was probably built before these natural resource standards were approved. So I don't see this is not, with the vegetation, it's going to be difficult to see from the street or from the adjacent neighbors. So is there one specific aspect that you're concerned about? I mean, we're just adding on to an existing house.
I think it's just the overall size, and that we're adding square footage here that gets us very close to the maximum allowable on this property, and the precedent that is setting here.
Well, I think in setting precedent, I mean, this house is already there, so we're not, we're not tearing it down. And we're just keeping with the style of it. There's not, it's an unusual shape for a house. It's basically a U. And it is not, the impact here is that we're improving this septic system and we're revegetating. So I don't see that this is, they could have gone to the maximum, but they didn't. And they need to have, they're having a bedroom up there and they want to take advantage of the views. And they're not expanding the footprint.
Do we have a street side elevation available to look at here? I think following up on Member Brenneman's question is that, what's the impact?
Yeah, there's actually a perspective view on the building plans if you go down of all sorts of views. I have FP001 in front of me, which is a architect's rendering of it, like a digital rendering of it. Does anybody have that?
No.
Yeah, can Tyler show it?
I'm looking at plans dated 6/30/20.
Yeah, there's some older ones. The plans did change slightly. The profile might be sufficient though. Let me see.
Yeah, it might be that one, Tyler, if you go down.
Yeah, it'll be similar to this one for certainly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, the color is a neutral color, so it's not. It reduces the visual impact by having a kind of a mahogany, kind of a dark brown color.
It's the view from the street, Tyler?
No.
No.
The street side would be
Lower left.
the street would be like to our on the big one would be like to the sort of behind you and to the right a little bit.
Tyler, if I may jump in, if do you have a recommendation on the project limiting fence for this particular site?
I think we should have included a sketch. Let's see. Yeah, I can pull it up.
Any existing conditions possibly?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it should have been attached to the original assessment, but I can pull it up right now. Essentially, just encircling the from the one side of the driveway around and then back to the up to the other side.
Thank you. Council, any problem? You can meet that. It looks like it's a reasonable expectation for a limiting fence.
Yes, we can put on a limiting fence in. I expected that.
Oh, yeah, that would be a requirement. And we just sometimes like to see the location of it, so we're not disturbing too much of the site.
I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anybody else have any questions?
No.
I don't know, in the TAM, there was a concern about what's mitigation being offered and what the scenic easement. I guess there was some disturbance into the scenic easement. Do we have an answer on that, Tyler? Was there anything submitted?
Yeah, I think, Terry, that's where we were talking about the re-veg on that. They were planted some Rosa rugosa. I think that's where we got it. So they were under. Yeah. Tyler, well, yeah, maybe Tyler can.
Sure. Do you want me to just hop in now? Sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Tyler.
For the plane. I'll just jump straight to that and maybe circle back to other stuff. So there was a violation at one point in time on this property where, let me pull up the survey, where there was some clearing into the scenic easement. That was revegetated before this application occurred. And that's where some of that Rosa rugosa came from. It's not a lot. Most of it's, standard bayberry and other thing and inkberry, things like that, revegetation. But there was some Rosa rugosa mixed in, which is what, we wanted to see fixed. It's tough to tell if the landscaping plan does more than that. The plan that they did submit is sufficient. It's got, it's bayberries, inkberries, Virginia rose, which would be fine as well. So that plan in and of itself is fine. I don't know if there's any more other than that's in the scenic easement. That might just be the scenic easement line right there. It's obviously not on there, so it's hard to know. But overall, this revegetation plan is fine. So that's essentially what happened with that, is that there was a violation. It seems like the applicant went it out of themselves and fixed it. But there was a couple of Rosa rugosa mixed in, which generally is not something we want to see as a non-native. And it is aggressive when it gets the chance.
Tyler, Terry might have been referring to your statement in the assessment that says a larger, more robust revegetation at the rear of the residence would provide significantly better mitigation from runoff to nearby wetlands.
Right.
And I think, Terry, that might have been what you were referring to.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, and that goes in hand with the discussion about the lawn or the yard back there.
Okay.
So, questioning whether the board wants additional mitigation on top of, fixing the easement. Does the board want a larger revegetation? It would help with runoff. Obviously, there's not a lot of space between this residence and the wetlands. So increasing the buffer certainly would help with runoff. But again, there's not much outdoor space either. The entire road side of the residence is essentially gravel at this point. So that's, could foreseeably be most of their outdoor space, as well as their deck on the back of the house. So, a revegetation, potentially extending the scenic easement are options that we gave the board in addition to removing that lawn. And either revegetating it or just going back to natural sand. It takes a lot of fertilizer in this type of area to go to lawn. Normally, when there's like a full redevelopment of the properties, the board has no sod, lawn, or ornamental vegetation as a condition of approval. So that's something that the board has a long history of doing, especially in the Beach Hampton area where you have a lot of similar properties. What else did we suggest as far as mitigation? I think that was about it as far as mitigation is concerned. Because there wasn't a significant amount of revegetation offered, and it seemed like it was probably just to fix the violation. The board may want to consider some additional vegetation back there, weighing, of course, the use of the property. And then just overall, the existing residence on this property is about 1,800 square feet. It's a one-story residence. It has decking at the ground level as well as some roof decking and a hot tub at the rear, which was the subject of a previous ZBA approval. The proposed increase in gross floor area measures approximately 740 square feet, which would give a total of about 2,540 for the whole house. The maximum GFA of any parcel of this size is 3,100 square feet. So you're starting to approach that maximum gross floor area, and that's regardless of wetlands being very close by, and also it being in a dune habitat with beach vegetation. There's also the 50% expansion cap to take into consideration on this parcel. Nearly, I think the whole house is within 100 feet, so the entire thing is within would be subject of the 50% expansion cap, and that cap is at 900 additional square feet. So they're using 740 of their 900 square feet cap, which is not a guarantee, but is a hard limit on the board. So even just looking at the 50% expansion cap, they're using up the majority of that. So these improvements need to be closely looked at by the board to determine if it's an appropriate level of development for Beach Hampton. This area is comprised of many similarly small parcels, many of which are near wetlands, and most of which contain protected beach vegetation. The board should be comfortable with this level of development on a lot of the parcels in this area, essentially. If the board is comfortable with that, the parcel may still be best served with a complete redevelopment with a more conforming envelope or a more conforming residence being built further away from the wetlands, and fixing some of the clearing in the back, trying to improving the conditions on the parcel where we can. A smaller footprint, even with a slight increase in the GFA in a more conforming location, could be a better alternative than adding on to an existing non-conforming residence. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
I don't believe my clients want to rebuild the whole house. I mean, they just want to add, yes, they're coming close to the limit of 900 square feet, but again, they're not increasing the footprint. And why go through the disturbance of I don't think that's an option for them to tear down the whole house and rebuild it. It's a small parcel. There's not much to be gained from that.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, I understand the proposal.
Okay, do we have any calls, Matt?
Yes, we have two holding.
Okay, you want to reach out to them?
Yes. I'm going to unmute last four digits of 4221.
Hello, caller. Are you part of this application?
Hi. Yes, I am. Thank you. My name is Jane Mearing. I live at 32 Ocean. Sorry, I live at 32 Ocean Lane, and I am not an attorney. If you want to swear me in.
Sure. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you. Congratulations, everyone new and new seats, and Happy New Year. As I said, I live on Ocean Lane. I'm not a directly contiguous neighbor, but this house is within a couple blocks of my house. I pass it at least 2 times a day. And I'm not going to go into long comments on the house, but I did have one concern I just wanted to raise. I know it's not in the application as checked off, but when I went through the files, I saw 3 different places, a drawing, a rendering, and I think a survey that had proposed pool proposed pool and deck. Actually, before, when you pulled up the computer rendering, you could see it. One said it would be a 20-foot pool. One said a 10-foot plunge pool. So I just wanted to clarify that that's not going to become a part of this, and then also ask the board if they would consider, as mitigation, a covenant of no pool in the future on this property. Pools in the front of a house have a lot of impact on the neighborhood. We don't have a lot of them. And Marine Boulevard, even though it's a main road and there's some large development, that's a road that we in the neighborhood use. You know, it's quite quiet, and we use it for, you know, jogging and strolling and bike riding, and it would feel like a pool in the front would have a lot of disturbance. So I just wanted to raise that as a possibility, and also just to clarify that a pool is not a part of this application because it showed up 3 times in 3 places in the files.
This is Kira Murphy representing the applicants. There's no proposed pool. They have an existing hot tub in the back. Plus, I don't think they meet the setbacks. I think if they put a pool in the front, so I don't see there's a need for a covenant. And they do have a deck in the back. Maybe in the future they'd put a pool there, but there's been no discussion of that. And I'm not sure, maybe that was a previous owner or previous application, but I will say on the record that there's no pool proposed for this house. There's just an existing hot tub there.
Okay, thank you. Matt, is there another caller?
Thank you.
Yes, there is. I will unmute them right now. Last 4 digits of 2742.
Hello, caller.
Hi,
Calling in for this application?
Yes, I am. It's
Hello?
Michael Murray. How are you?
Okay. What's your
Can you
name?
hear me?
Yeah.
Michael Murray.
Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm on the design. I'm very well, and congratulations to the new board members as well.
Thank you.
I'm on the design team for the Wheelan, and I can just speak to a couple of the issues
Michael,
on the design of the home.
Michael, before you do, Michael, hold on. Michael, before you do, I'll have to swear you in.
Sorry about
Michael,
sorry about that.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, proceed.
I'm going to give you a little bit of the background story of the house. And when the Whelans purchased the house, they absolutely loved the dunes, and they loved the old school dunes, if we can put it that way. Mm-hmm. They really wanted to be the intent for the restoration of the house, and then the addition for the house was to actually look like it was always there. They had other options for houses, but they fell in love with the quaintness, as one of the neighbors was correct on, the strolling and the community. So their biggest concern was 2 things. They have a family, so there just physically isn't enough room for them all to enjoy the house. And so the main concern was to stay within all of the parameters of the pyramid rule, the heights, everything, making sure we were as sensitive as possible to the neighbors, and then bringing the house to its original condition. So much that we I worked with the original builder owner of the house, and they had some feedback on what was the thoughts of the original design when it was built. So this is much more a passion project for them. It's not about building a big statement house on the beach. So when some of the renderings, that actual rendering at one time for a pool was actually in the initial idea renderings, and then very quickly the town made it clear that, well, when we worked with the town, that certain things were just not going to be within the scope of possibility. So that's when it was, not discussed any further. The family is in love with the location, and we're perfectly happy to vegetate even more. We vegetated pretty heavily, but if more vegetation is asked, they would be happy to do more vegetation. The main concern is about getting the family into the house sooner rather than later. We know it's been a long process, and we appreciate the board's. I'm sure the board has been just overwhelmed with applications through this whole crazy period with all the mass building going on out there. But the homeowners are very eager to get started and get it wrapped up so we can put the inconvenience of working on a house behind them and for the neighbors as well as themselves. And so the only takeaway is the style of the house is absolutely going to be married to what the original intent of the house was.
Okay, I think the board would be glad to see a proposal for some increased vegetation, particularly how in protecting the wetland. And perhaps we can leave the record open for a submission while the record's open. We can make a submission of a suggested planting, but I'd like to see some increased protection as well from the wetlands.
Is there any possibility we can submit that and still keep the approval process moving forward? We're happy to do it. So there's absolutely nothing from our side saying we wouldn't do that. We're more than happy to do it.
Yes, as long as it's submitted before the record. That's right. As long as it's submitted before the record is closed, I would believe.
We'll get on it immediately.
Which we're about to announce when that would be anyway. So.
Okay.
Board members, any other questions?
No.
Okay. Tim?
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion in the matter of Jeff Weiland at 170 Marine Boulevard in Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-176-4-12, to close the public hearing. And let's see, do we want to close the written record or do we want to hold it open for a period of time?
Well, the written record will be open until 2 weeks after the
transcript post.
Approximately how long is that? I think you've got about, Council, how long do you think that normally is?
It usually takes at least a few weeks, but it's been posting a little earlier in the past month. I know that was the case. I don't know if that's just luck or if things are running a little more smoothly these days with respect to that.
So the question would be to council here whether or not 30 days holding the record open would be acceptable to you to be able to submit a revised revegetation plan.
Yes, we could probably do it sooner, but you said what, the transcript usually takes 14 days?
Okay, 14 days. Okay, that's fine.
14 days would be great. And just for my own, I'm sorry to ask this, but so after the record is closed, when are we put on for a decision? Usually, I know you're very busy, but
I can answer that. Once the record closes, we have 62 days to issue a determination.
Okay, thank you.
And just to be clear for our purposes of our minutes, we are talking about 2 weeks after the transcript posts. So that would give you roughly 30 days, or is the board looking, or is the applicant looking for 30 days after the transcript posts?
I think we'll be able to get into. Well, I think we can get the updated landscape plan in the next two weeks.
So before the 30 days.
Yes, before the 30 days, yes.
Okay.
So I believe that gives us plenty of wiggle room here if we just close the public hearing and close the written record immediately, because you will have that extended period of time. So essentially that's going to be 30 days. So if you're comfortable.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So we have to submit this new information.
Correct.
So that would be within the next 14 days. Is that how it works?
Right. And the record will be left open until 2 weeks after the transcript. So you have plenty of time.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry about that.
I know that gets confusing.
The record will remain open until, so you are okay within that 14 days.
Okay, great. I'm sorry.
So
Just
Tim,
wanted to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to close the public hearing and close the public record until 2 weeks after the transcripts post to the town website.
Okay, great.
No,
Thank you.
We're not
closing the public record.
Let's reword it, Tim. We're going to close the public hearing, but keep the record open until.
Sorry. All right, so we're going to close the public hearing and keep the public record open until 2 weeks after the transcript posts to the town website.
Right.
I think that's better.
Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
I'll concur.
I concur as well. Great. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, members, next we have matter of Bunker Bay Real Estate Holdings LLC at 32 Bayview Avenue, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-106-01-25.1. Applicant Bunker Bay Real Estate Holdings LLC. The size and location is 19,597 square feet. 18,237 square, that's total, 18,237 square feet, excluding wetlands. 32 Bayview Avenue, Hollymere, Section C, map number 316, Amagansett. The description is to construct a 2,778 square foot residence with a 40 square foot porch, sanitary system, dry wells, walkway, and a driveway on a parcel of land that contains freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and 3 variances from 255-430 wetland setbacks. Variances of 40 foot, 36 foot, and 3 foot are required for the construction of a split rail fence 60 foot, a driveway 64 foot, and a walkway 97 foot from a freshwater wetland where 100 foot is required. And a variance of 35 foot is required for the construction of a sanitary system to be located 115 foot from a freshwater wetland where 150 is required. 2 variances from 255-11-72D pyramid regulations of 13 feet and 5.5 feet from the southeastern property line and northeastern property line, respectively, and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. The zoning district is A Residence AE Flood Zone, elevation 10. The secret class is type 2. And who is handling this? Is this you too, Tim?
That is me, but you may want to check on the appropriate paperwork, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Council, do we have a proper affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I visited the property yesterday, and as you can see by the first photo, it was properly posted. I will note that this is a vacant lot and kind of difficult to really get full perspective. I think ultimately when either Tyler or Brian put up an aerial at the end, we'll probably have more perspective than these photos, but nonetheless, let me walk you through my inspection. So next photo, please. Okay, so just from a standpoint of community character, I've swung my camera basically to the south here, and looking down Bayview. We're all familiar with this street. Next photo. Now I've rotated back toward the north. This is looking out toward the bay from here. One of the unique things along Bayview here now is this gravel section of the road. You can see the whatever that is, cattails to the left side of the street here. So this is clearly where the wetlands are, and they're noted on our surveys. Next photo. So now I've just walked, also you can see on our survey reference to the split rail fence, as well as one of the variances that we're being asked to approve. This kind of frames the farthest, the most northernmost portion of this property that will have any activity on it. And so, again, hard to get any real perspective here, but this is what the fence looks like today. Next photo. Now I've walked up to the south, and taken a photo. You can see there a property marker of some sort in the ground in front of that electrical panel. And to the right here is the best I can figure where Hollywood Avenue is on our surveys. So that would be the farthest to the south on this property. Next photo. Now, again, I've walked down to the north, and again, we're looking at the gravel section of this road, and really, my photo here is looking into the wetlands on this property. So the wetlands would be kind of straight ahead and to the left of this photo. The other thing I would note about this property, as we look at it, it does slope kind of from right to left. So it's sloping to the north and toward the bay, and quite candidly toward these wetlands. So the improvements are projected to be on the upland portion of the property for sure, but certainly any development will have an impact on runoff here. Next photo. And I just swung my camera, standing in the same spot, over to the western portion of the street to give you a sense that the wetlands continue across that way. Next photo. And then I walked into the property a little bit and tried to take a photo of approximately, I think I'm approximately standing where the improvements would be and looking down toward the split rail fence, which again, we can see on our surveys. I believe that's it. And again, I think we get a little more perspective probably here in a minute where we get an aerial view of all of this.
Thank you, Tim. Board members, do you have any questions of Tim?
Mr. Chairman, I've been informed that the individual who would be appearing on behalf of the applicant is not in the Zoom. I'm not sure if he's calling in. We were expecting Steve Grabowski.
Matt, can you see if there are any callers in the waiting room?
There's nobody on the phone line, and that particular name is not in the waiting room. Everybody is in the, I don't know who that number is. Let me unmute this number that just called in. Hang on one second.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, last four digits of 3995.
Hello,
No,
caller?
I'm not Steve Grabowski. I'm Joe Karpinski.
Hi, Joe. Okay.
Hey,
I
I don't know if you guys have to do anything else before public comment, so.
No, we will.
Okay,
Hold on.
there's
Yeah.
no Steve Grabowski in the waiting room or on the lines.
I'm getting a message that he's going to call in now to LTV.
Okay.
Okay, I will look for that number.
Thank you.
Tim, while we're waiting, can I ask you a question? That meter pan that showed up in your photo, did you think that was on the property or off the property based on that stake you saw on the ground?
I think that was on the property. And, but I'm just not sure if that shows up here in the survey. It was unclear to me.
Yeah, it looked like an old one too, right, Ed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very old. I happened to go out and visit the site as well, and I saw it, and I couldn't tell standing there. I didn't see that property marker. I'm sorry I missed it. I was trying to figure out if that was on the property and part of an old attempted improvement or what it was. He must have some history.
I mean, it just, it's always hard when you're working from the survey and just trying to figure out on the fly where the marker is. But, given where the other property was and what I perceived to be Hollywood Avenue, my assumption was that I was looking at one of the markers there.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, whenever you're ready, I will unmute Steve.
Okay, please unmute.
Okay, unmuting last four digits of 3337.
Hello, caller, is this Steve Grabowski?
Yes.
Hello? Oh, hi, Steve. Steve,
Yes, I'm online.
I know you're not. Okay, sure. Steve, I know you're not an attorney, so will you, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, can you proceed?
Yes, I do.
Steve, I'm wondering, do you have it on in the background?
Yes, I have the TV on as well. Should I turn that off?
Yeah, that's creating a delay.
Okay, turn it off then.
Thank you. All right, now you can proceed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can he see?
No. Go ahead, Steve.
Yes, go ahead.
No, it's your turn. You're the applicant.
Yes.
All right, so it's your turn. You go ahead. Present what you got to do.
Well, we're proposing to build the house according to the paperwork we submitted on the property.
Okay. All right. At this point, I mean, if that's your presentation, that's fine. Does a board member? I might have a question or two. The TAM, which I understand, which I assume you've read, talks about you're proposing a driveway that is as an RCA material.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that if it's pervious quartz gravel, it would not require variance. Do you have any objection to eliminating the RCA and putting in a quartz gravel driveway?
None whatsoever. No.
Okay.
I know. I think you guys had a question about the pit and the electrical box that's on that property.
Yeah.
Maybe I can clear that up. What that was an old pump pit. That was a pump pit because that was a strata of fresh water at the high ground. And what happened was we had two pumps. We had one pump pulling out of the ground there, and that went to the house all the way at the end of the beach that we owned years ago. And there was a pump at the other house on the other end. So that's long been, discontinued, abandoned.
Okay.
I have a question. In the TAM, the planning department was recommending a scenic easement toward the northwestern portion of this property to protect the wetlands, and I believe provided a sketch that showed where that would be. Is there any objection to granting a scenic easement as part of this application?
No, that's fine. And I just want to make a note too that the split rail fence the line was marked out by the DEC. The DEC required some sort of a structure there. So that was the DEC requirement at that time.
Right, and the TAM does address that. Any other questions? Any other questions, board members?
I just have one, Mr. Chair, and that is that the drawings that you submitted, Mr. Grabowski, were for a prefabbed house. Is that exactly what's going to happen? Is that drawing going to be accurate? Are we going to be seeing a prefab house brought into the site?
Yes, that's correct. In fact, actually, the house next to me is prefab, and the house across the street from me is prefab, along the same design, too, for that matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, going back to the electric box that you said was an old pump that's been abandoned, is that going to be removed?
Yeah, that's going to be removed, during the course of construction. That has to come out. So, but there was, if the board member saw the cesspool cover and the slab there, that's just a 4-foot pit. It's one ring, 4 feet deep, and that's where the old pump used to be. Inside that ring for water.
What did that serve? The adjacent residential properties?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What did that serve, that pump? The adjacent residential properties?
That served the house at the end of the road. That was put in back in the late 70s because there was no water main there at that time. So we had to depend on the water that was in the area. And that high ground, there was a thin strata of fresh water there that was, quite odor-free and clean. And that was pumped down to serve the house at the end of the road.
Which end of the road? The Hollywood Avenue side?
I'm sorry, what's that?
The north side. The north, what?
Yeah, where was
the
that
line ran
house
down
at the end of the road?
in front of the telephone poles.
And it went toward Cranberry Hole Road? And not Cranberry Hole Road.
No, it went north towards the beach. It served the house at the end of the beach. They had the house on the right side. I believe Stella McCartney owns it now.
Okay.
That was our house years ago. My father-in-law built that in the 70s.
Regardless, that's an abandoned well right now.
Yeah, it's an abandoned well. It's a shallow well, not expanded, so there's no service to it.
Right. Any other questions?
Just for clarification on this proposed easement, is that to be worked out with them with the planning department? Mr. Grabowski says he's willing to approve it. Or will that be admitted before we ask to make a decision here?
No, that would be, believe that would be a condition of the C of O.
Right.
Yeah. Or is it a condition of the permit? I think usually an easement is a condition of the C of O. Tyler can talk about that, I think.
Okay.
What's the size of the scenic easement?
There was a screen share on that just previously.
I saw that. Didn't catch the size.
Right there.
Okay.
Board members, it's Brian Frank from the Planning Department. I didn't want to jump in unless I needed to. I can get you a calculation of the size of this area, but the way it has been proposed by the Planning Department is running right across the lot, 30 feet south or 30 feet south of the wetland boundary. So the easement would occupy about between 1/3 and half of the northern property.
Brian, I think we're ready to turn it over to you anyway. Is that correct?
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, board members. Brian Frank on behalf of the Planning Department. I'm standing in for Eleni Nikolopoulos, who reviewed the application. I just want to show you an aerial photo of the area, kind of along the lines of what Member Brenneman was indicating in his field presentation. The property is vacant and wooded. This is on Bayview Avenue. This area is really characterized by pine oak woodlands. The canopy is a combination of pitch pine and various oaks. Not the best well-developed understory, a lot of greenbrier in some places, and there is some other diversity about that, but it's mostly characterized as pine oak woodlands. The wetlands are located in the northern portion of the property. I have 5-foot topography on here, not 1 foot, which would just make it a little bit busy. I'll go back to the survey in a moment, but you'll see in the lowest elevations of the property are where the wetlands are located to the north. Bayview Avenue probably bisected a more extensive wetland, and those wetlands are also found on the west side of the road, again, as Member Brenneman showed in his photographs. In fact, the setbacks that are included in the notice are from the wetlands on the west side of the road. So this approximate 65-foot distance shows shows the closest point of the driveway and roughly the closest point of the fence that were included in the variance application. The application is for a little bit less than a 2,800 square foot 2-story residence. The residence is proposed in the southern portion of the property, where it, for the most part, well, not for the most part, where it does meet the 100-foot wetland setback. The sanitary system has been configured in the southwest corner of the property, where the planning department finds the wetland setbacks to be acceptable. And as Eleni noted in the in her assessment, the environmental parameters are satisfactory to the extent of the planning department. This is at least partially in a AE flood zone. Here's the flood zone boundary between the two properties. As the board knows from other applications, any construction within multiple flood zones must meet the elevation requirements of the higher flood zone. So most of the house is located in a X flood zone that doesn't require first floor elevation minimums, but a portion of the house is located in the AE flood zone, which has a base flood elevation of 10 feet above sea level. FEMA requires 2 feet of freeboard, and that means the house, to comply with FEMA, has to have a first floor elevation, or at least a first floor elevation of 12 feet above sea level. Really, this is as much a consideration of the area variance parameters for pyramid. The application does require pyramid variances from the southern and eastern lot lines, and it's the applicant's obligation to explain to the satisfaction of the board why those variances are necessary. Just to go back to the aerial photograph, again, it was noted there is a paper road to be abandoned. Hollywood Road is an unopened road to be abandoned. The subject property appears to have acquired the northern half of the road. The southern half of the road is eligible for the adjoining property to the south to be incorporated into that property. That residence is located about 50 feet south of the property line. These measuring tools aren't exact. It's not quite as good as a survey, but the neighboring property is about 50 feet south of the property that's under consideration tonight. And pyramid variances, just like side yard variances, are there to protect neighboring properties. And again, it's up to the applicant to explain why those variances are being requested in the application. I don't really know that there's that much more I need to cover here. The split rail fence is consistent with DEC requirements to kind of demarcate areas that are to be protected. We've seen that in other applications. Generally, split rail fences are pretty much the most innocuous type of fence that a property can have. It really doesn't result in an impediment to wildlife. It's not very invasive to install them, and there really aren't any concerns from the planning department's perspective relative to its proximity to wetlands. Replacing the RCA driveway with quartz gravel is a definite improvement. RCA packs down to be a near impervious surface, and recycled concrete comes from a variety of different sources, so it's not really possible to control the material that may leach out of them over time. So replacing that with gravel eliminates those concerns, eliminates the needs for the variance, and that's pretty much everything I want to make sure the board is aware of in the overview of this application. And if anybody has any questions I can answer, I'll certainly do my best.
Brian, do you know if there was a pyramid diagram submitted? I'm looking for that.
I will take a look at the plans. I think
I
they're
look
here
at
in
the plans. The plans don't seem to appear. They're modular. From what I'm seeing, they're modular plans. So the plans don't even depict what the first floor elevation is.
Well, there must have been.
There was a diagram submitted.
Okay.
If I may interject, yes, it should be attached to the paperwork.
I'm gonna, if you want, Mr. Chairman, I'll get them from the file. If you want to continue the discussion with either the applicant or the the public, I'll get them up for you.
All right. I'm just wondering if it would be, for clarity's sake, if when you, I would say by the time you submit for a building permit, just to be clear that the first floor elevation is going to be at elevation 12. That's clear to you, right, Steve?
Yes.
Board members, do you have any questions?
My questions would be in line with wondering about the pyramid variance requested and what possible solutions there are. So I think understanding exactly what the pyramid variance we're looking at.
I agree, and I agree. I think that we should have and Steve, with that from a public, from a record point of view, I think we should have a little bit of a discussion on the pyramid, either from what member Johan's asking or from the uniqueness of the site, possibly why we should allow a pyramid variance in this particular case.
Well, if we look back at the initial reading that we had describing the project, I think there was a description of the pyramid violation. So there has to be some sort of paperwork in that package that showed this violation and how, on paper. That wasn't a number that just wasn't plucked from anywhere.
Right, so. But that's fine. But the question I think before us is pyramid variances are not often granted. The question is there a reason particular to this application why we should grant the pyramid variance? Is that correct, member Johan?
Yeah, I think that's correct. And I'm looking at the drawings that we did get submitted that of the house, and I don't see any notation about the pyramid violation and where it occurs and how it occurs and what the dimension is. So
that should have been on there.
It might be part. We just got to dig it up. Brian, maybe you can address the planning department's view of these pyramid requests.
Well, generally, the planning department doesn't often make recommendations about dimensional non-environmental variances. So the setbacks are there to protect the neighboring property. Pyramid in particular is a relative height limitation that was established to prevent neighboring construction that might meet side yard setback from looming over the neighboring properties, creating shadows, and impeding the flow of air in particular to kind of protect the character of the neighborhood. I'm still trying to find those elevation plans that have them, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to track them down yet.
I would say that on one of the dimensions that we can see that the maximum roof height here is just over 31 feet. And we can probably extrapolate pretty easily to the property line. But again, knowing where the 12-foot first floor elevation is going to be critical in us making a judgment on this, I think.
I'm going to just close the share and open it back up again on another screen so I can look around without without watching me scroll through my files.
Steve, I want to it's for we want to get some clarity on this, but the most affected neighbor is the most effective neighbor is the neighbor to the north. Is that correct?
No, actually, it's the neighbor to the south.
No.
To the south?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you, to the south.
Right. Yep.
Mm-hmm. The plans that you have at the board, are they of a cape by any chance? Or is it a full two-story?
Full two-story.
Because I changed from a two-story to a cape. I just want to make sure you have the right plans.
Well, I definitely don't have a cape. I have a full two-story house with a 31-foot ridge height. And not reflective of what was shown a minute ago by Brian Frank when he had one elevation come up that we might have looked at. So our package,
okay,
at least might prove that.
I had submitted cape plans for this hearing to the planner, Eleni. And I think at that time I also gave the pyramid information. Apparently it didn't make your package because we changed from the two-story to a cape, which puts it at about 26 feet or so.
Do you know the date of the plan? Yeah, the plan we have is dated October 5th, 2020.
Correct.
No, I have 10/7/2021. Because when Walbridge did the calculations, it showed the violation, and that's when I said I thought it was too much myself. So I said, well, let me bring it down to a cape. So you definitely, unfortunately, have the wrong plans.
So we should also verify the date of the last survey too, the latest survey. What's the latest survey?
Yes, as well. Yeah.
Because we're seeing
what survey do you have?
4/29/20. Is that anybody have a later one?
Nope.
No.
They don't have the right plans. Yeah, they don't. They have the two-story, not the cape.
Oh my God! How did that?
Don't let that disturb you. If you.
Board members, the survey that I've had up on the screen during this meeting is from October 1st, 2021, and I believe that's the most recent survey. Still looking for the building plans.
But that survey is not in my package.
Yeah, we don't have that survey.
Yeah.
Let me see if it's online.
The last one I have is last revised April 29th, 2020.
That's exactly right. We all have the same one.
Yeah.
I don't see
it online for the for the hearing this evening.
Brian, do you know what does the TAM refer to the survey that they're writing on?
I believe it does, Mr. Chairman, and I'm one of the things I'm familiar with. One of the peculiarities about this property is that initially the boundary of the flood zone was depicted in the wrong location, which created some issues for the application. So if you notice in that April survey that you might be looking at, that dashed FEMA line, that flood zone line that we were talking about a little earlier, is in the middle of the property, and that was incorrect. It's farther south, and that that's one of the.
Go ahead.
Anyway, that's. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read a text and from a Lenny to try and find the.
And the TAM is referring to the survey dated October 1st, 2021, and the building plans is September 30th, 2021. It's just that we don't have it. And it's,
no, we do not.
Yeah, Lenny says it's in here, but I'm sorry, I haven't been able to find it.
Wait a minute, I found it. Can I share my screen?
I unshared.
yeah, it's a Cape.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Okay.
this is dated October 7, 2000.
And that's October. What is that date? October?
7, 2021.
Right.
How much of a change is there in maximum ridge height from that first elevation? I couldn't read it here on screen.
Well, it seems to me this would reduce, but the notice is based on the plans dated September 30th, 2021, which is, so I would assume the variance, the pyramid variance is still based on those plans. Is that correct?
I think
Yes,
that's our
it's based
question.
on the Cape.
So we're asking for a 13-foot and a 5.5-foot variance. I'd like to see what's.
So the notice is correct?
Yes, the notice is based on the Cape plans.
Okay.
But I don't see any pyramid drawings.
No, I don't either. Not on this.
So, to our knowledge, though, is the maximum variance of 13 feet, is that shared with that, what is it, Hollywood Drive or Hollywood Road, whatever it's called? Is that what we're talking about? That,
I think that question was for Steve, but generally it would be the larger variance is usually from that closest pyramid line. And if the roof ridge runs north-south, then that would make sense that the largest nonconformity to pyramid would be along the Hollywood Avenue property line.
okay.
Correct. That's correct.
Oh, and I see there's a notation on the survey that says the pyramid height allowed is 24 feet and the ridge height is 37. That might have been where the 13 feet came from.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Right. He did a notice of what. Yeah. Okay.
And there's a similar notation to the east. So it's a little bit different than the way it's usually depicted. Usually there's that 45-degree line that comes in from the property line, and the amount that extends vertically beyond that kind of visually depicts and scale, if it's scalable, depicts what the magnitude of the variance is, but it may have been prepared based on the surveyor's calculations for this application.
Yeah, that's correct, Brian. That's correct. He made a note. I thought it was a sketch, but it was actually a note, like you said.
Thank you. Does that helps for me. Ed, Ed, do you have any further concerns or questions?
Well, I think there's a little bit of confusion here. I guess we have to be sure that what we're assuming that the surveyor came up with this 13-foot variance. I guess if we're confident in that, then we can consider it. But right now, I don't see it on a drawing. We just have a note on a survey. And I guess we can follow this through. And again, that assumes that the first floor is at 12 foot.
Brian, maybe when Elena gets back, she can put a note in the file, being that the record will be open to verify that.
I could ask her to do that. I also, to mention member Johann's comment about the first floor elevation. The pyramid height is measured from grade, so that pyramid height elevation should have been measured from natural grade, regardless of what the first floor elevation of the residence is proposed.
Yeah, it's showing 26 feet, so we would add the 12 feet of additional height to that, right, to get to the 38 feet that we're talking about?
37 feet. Yes. If you want to unshare, I have it up on the survey here, and I can show you the numbers at least. Again, I apologize for the confusion, everyone. So maybe I should blow this up just a little bit more. So here are the pyramid calculation lines by the surveyor, which presumably use the elevation of the property at grade to demonstrate that a maximum allowable height would have been 24, an elevation of or a height of 24 feet, where 37 is proposed. That's the 13 feet from the southern property line. And then similarly, a 23-foot height is allowed from the east, and 28.5 is proposed.
Yep, and they're okay, and they got it listed as 12 foot. First floor elevation is 12 foot, so that's good.
Well, then those are accurate calculations, as long as we know that the house has been set at 12 feet and the surveyor has made the calculation.
Yeah. Okay. Matt, any callers?
We do have one additional caller. I will unmute them right now. Last four digits, 3995.
Hello, caller.
Hey, I'm still here.
Okay, you want to introduce yourself and your address?
Yeah, we can go through it. Joe Karpinski, 14 Bayview Avenue. I'm not an attorney, so I swear to tell the truth.
Okay, Joe, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, the overall assessment of the road itself on Bayview Avenue, it's quite curious to me that this would be the only application currently that has come before this board for pyramids or any other variances or any FEMA compliance. We have several structures on this road, even one that got an excavator brought to it today that should have a building permit, but it doesn't, but they started work, 1, 2, 3. I'll preface this. I'm sorry, I should have prefaced this. When it comes to Steve and Stephanie, I know everything's up to the code. Everything will be put into what it's supposed to be, and I have no doubt in my mind on those factors. I do know that I would say, though, I don't want to see any more building on this road. We have so much building. We've had buildings for almost a decade. Even later tonight, you guys, in your work session, you're going to talk about 89. That never should have been built, in my opinion. All the trees that they cleared behind are town trees on that side, just so you guys are aware. But the overall assessment to easements, to the road itself, for people to actually receive their C of O, the paving of the road, because this is quote-unquote a private road. At this point, there should have been enough paving done on this road that we should actually be a town road. And the overall assessment is that I really don't want to see any more building. I think this is too close to wetlands for this specific spot, though, compared to everything else that goes down towards the water, this is actually storm surge zone 2, so there'll probably be the last spot that wouldn't be touched by anything. I certainly could show you pictures from Sandy. I know you guys are more than well aware you have pictures from Sandy and how high the water did come that day. But that's really the overall assessment from my end, is that there should be more looking into what's going on this road and which department to call, because I can call code, but code tells me to talk to building, building tells me to talk to planning, and there's not too many times I actually get to have a meeting like this to say, hey, what the heck is going on? So at the end of the day, there should be a complete overhaul and assessment of what's going on this road and what things need to be taken care of, what things should have been taken care of. And I know moving forward, I'm sure that we'll be seeing each other again, because I think there are future applications that will be coming forward. That's all I really have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Anybody, any other callers, Matt?
0 additional callers, thank you.
Hey, Tim, you want to do the honors?
Sure. So in the matter of Bunker Bay Real Estate Holdings, LLC, 32 Bayview Avenue, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-106-1-25.1. I make a motion to close the public hearing and to hold the public record open until 2 weeks after the transcript posts to the town website.
Second.
I concur.
Denise?
I concur.
Yep, there
And I concur as well. Thank you. Next, we have Stephanie Pietramonico. I think that's the way you say it. 100 DeForest Road, Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-0332.1-01-244. Applicant is Stephanie Pietramonico. Size and location 1,987 square feet at 100 DeForest Road, Unit 808, Montauk Shores Condominium, map number 55, Montauk. The description is to remove an existing mobile home, deck, wood, walkway, and shed and install a new 736 square foot mobile home, 539 square foot deck, 15 square foot outdoor shower, 63 square foot shed, and 192 square foot stone paving on a parcel of land within 150 foot of freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-440, and 7 variances are required. 2 variances of 19.5 feet, 13.5 feet from 255-11-10 dimensional setbacks is required to construct a deck 10.5 feet and a mobile home 16.5 feet from the side yard property line where 30 feet is required. 5 variances from 255-430 wetland setbacks, variances of 80.7 feet, 87.9 feet, 86.4 feet, 54.5 feet, and 87 feet are required to construct the mobile home, 19.3 feet, deck 12.1 foot, outdoor shower 13.6 feet, shed 45.5 feet, and stone paving 13 feet from a wetland where 100 foot is required, and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. Zoning district is RS, Resort Zone, X Flood Zone, Secret Class Type 2. And Montauk, would that be Terry or Ed?
It's me, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Council, do we have proper service of affidavit of service and posting?
We do. The paperwork appears to be in order.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is, as mentioned, these are trailers down in what is Montauk Condominiums, and people locally know it as the trailer park. There are a lot of them. They line up, and we'll go around this one, and you'll see how it sits on the parcel. It's important to note as we move around on this, that this is as far east as any of the lines of trailers exist, and so you'll see that as we see. Here you see the proper posting that's out front of the existing trailer. Next. I just backed up a little bit to give you an idea of the length and scope of the property. Same sign there. Next. I've taken a look down the run of trailers here. You'll see some space to the right. Most of the trailers fit in on their own lots individually. The ocean is off in the distance. Next. I've turned and looked the other direction now. You see some customized trailers, a long run within the trailer park. This is the road that's furthest east, as I've said, within the condominium. Next. This is the trailer immediately to the ocean side, the south side of the house. You can this existing trailer slightly in the photo, still on the left. Next. I've come down along the side of there now. This is an existing deck. You saw that and noticed that this is to come down and the new trailer is to go up with another deck. All of this is going to be very similar in look, at least location, if not look. Next. I walked around just next one. Well, somehow that doesn't matter. Just skip that one. That's out of order. Here I am behind the trailer, and you can see that we're looking now out on property that some of this property is owned by the town, I understand. But you can see that line of stones basically describes the edge of the condominium and picks up into a natural environment immediately. And there is a lot of sensitive vegetation throughout. There are also some invasives, but this property is exactly up against an undeveloped area. Next. Just turning the other direction slightly and you get an idea. See the Phragmites growing up in here. Again, there are other native plants within, but the most important point of this is that we are at the edge of the development. Next. This is it's mentioned in the TAM. There's an existing shed and a outside shower. Next. Yeah, and then you can see the shed. This is all there. This is typical of a lot of the arrangements in the trailer park where there's enough room for a shed and some additional outside storage. Next. That's not mine, but I guess that's looking down on it. That must be yours then. Okay. I think that's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have questions for Ed? If not, we'll go to the applicant. Applicant is present.
Yes, Shannon McCaffrey from Dewey's Planning.
Hi, Sharon. How are you? You want to spell your name and address?
Spell my name. Yep, sure. It's SHANNEN and then McCaffrey, MCCAFFREY, and 170 Main Street, Wainscott.
Great. And you're not an attorney, so I'll
Correct.
swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Good evening. We're here discussing Unit 808 of Montauk Shores. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing improvements and construct a new mobile home, decking, outdoor shower, shed, and stone paving. The variances requested are substantial due to the fact that the lot is located at the eastern portion of the complex where the wetlands are located and the very small lot size that these lots have. The proposed improvements are the minimum needed to meet the goal of the applicants and will not encroach any closer to the wetlands than the existing improvements. This has become the owner's primary residence, and the current structures were installed prior to the adoption of zoning, and they need to be replaced to be more efficient and in conformance with local and state codes. The applicant also understands that this work will not be completed until the new septic system for the complex is approved by Suffolk County Department of Health Services, which is currently under review. Applicant has received approval from the DEC and wishes to have this permit in place for when the septic is approved. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments about the project.
Members, do you have any questions?
Do we have any notion about where we stand with the Suffolk County Health Department approval of this master plan?
Currently pending. I don't know exactly where the complex is in the review process with the health department.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
If not, we'll go to the planning department.
Good evening, Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department once again. How are you doing?
Tyler, you're sworn in already, so I believe so.
So the current application is proposing to demolish and remove the existing mobile home and associated structures and replace them with a new mobile home, decking, outdoor shower, shed, and stone paving. The proposed improvements are comparable to what currently exists on the property. However, it should be noted that the variances that are required are substantial. This unit is located on the eastern part of the complex, beyond the jurisdiction from the coastal bluff and tidal wetlands further to the south. The subject freshwater wetlands are located on the adjoining property directly to the east. These wetlands are part of an extensive complex of wetlands and moorland habitat that provide all of the benefits typically associated with high quality wetlands. Due to the double side yard setbacks for structures on parcels within the resort zone that are adjacent to residential zoning, this application requires multiple side yard variances in addition to the wetland setback variances. Since the original unit was constructed prior to the adoption of zoning and the condominium allots only a certain amount of space for each unit, the applicant has really no other option than to request variances from both the side yard and from wetlands. While these variances appear substantial, the fact that the allotted space for the unit is only 1,987 square feet allows very little availability and ability for the applicant to meet any of these setbacks, both side yard and wetland. The board should consider the fact that many of the units within the Montauk Shores condominium complex were erected prior to the adoption of zoning. However, the restructuring of the complex will become increasingly necessary in the future as environmental conditions change over time. Due to the legal issues regarding the sanitary upgrade of this parcel, as was sort of already mentioned, the building department has put a moratorium on the construction of new trailers within the complex. No additions should have been added to the master plan since 2018, which is the last time that the master survey was updated. However, NRSPs may still be granted while that is being worked out. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Any board members have any questions for Tyler?
I do not.
I do not.
Sharon, just real quick, do you agree with the recommended project conditions? Ms. McCaffrey?
Sorry, yeah, we no objection to having
Okay.
this.
And would the project, I'd like to add to the project conditions that a dry well be added for the outdoor shower.
Okay, yeah, that's not an issue.
Okay, thank you. Matt, any callers?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ed, your honor to close it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the matter of Stephanie Petromonaco, 100 DeForest Road, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-032.1-01-244. I'd like to make a motion to close the public portion of this hearing, but to keep the written record open for 2 weeks until 2 weeks after the transcript is posted on the town website.
Second that?
I concur.
I concur.
And I concur as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Next, we have Mohammed Grima, 425 Cranberry Hole Road, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-128-01-32.1. Applicant is Mohammed Grima. Size and location is 54,325 square foot total. 425 Cranberry Hole Road, Cherry Point, Lot 1, map number 11091 in Amagansett. The description is to construct a 3,926 square foot total 2-story residence, 870 square foot pool, spa, 697 square foot first floor decks, 881 square foot of covered first floor decks, 741 square foot second story covered deck, 367 square foot of second story deck, 583 square foot of roof deck, 73 square foot of covered entryway, walkway, driveway, and a sanitary system on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation, dunes, and tidal wetlands. Relief sought is the Natural Resources Special Permits pursuant to Section 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A resident AE flood zone, elevation 10. and the secret class is type 2. And council, do we have a affidavit of service and posting?
Yes, we do, and the paperwork appears to be in order.
Great, and I turn this over to our new member. Go ahead, Denise.
Thank you. I visited the site last Saturday and Sunday, and there was no evidence of an official posting. So I am asking that the posting remain up an additional 10 days so the public is properly noticed. And if there should be any input, they should be allowed to enter it into the record. This first photo illustrates the access facing northwest. The parcel is vacant and is relatively uncleared with the exception of this driveway. Next. This is the west side of the property, and the residence you are looking at was approved in 2008. Next. The photo shows the eastern end of the property and the lowest elevation, which is probably, I believe, 3 feet. Next. Throughout the lot, there exists natural vegetation like this everywhere. Next. This shows the Dune Crest line, which was flagged by the planning department on April 9th, 2021, and is depicted on the survey last revised 8/13/2021. I think at this point, the elevation is, I believe, 10.7. Next. This is the westerly end of the property, which is actually showing the location of where the septic system will be. Next. This is the Osprey Nest to the south, which is on a state-owned property, and it's approximately 100 feet southeast of the subject parcel. Next. This is my final photo, just illustrating that this parcel overlooks Napeague Bay.
Thank you, Denise. Anybody have a question for Denise?
No.
If not, do we have the applicant online?
Yes. Good evening, members of the board. Brian Locascio with the Adam Miller Group, attorney for the applicant. As stated, the property address 425 Cranberry Hole Road. It's currently a vacant lot. However, there was an access road that used to serve what is commonly known as a fish factory that did at one point traverse to this property. So there is some historic disturbance of this property. This lot is part of a 2-lot subdivision that was created in 2004. As per the subdivision, the lot was 54,325 square feet. As noticed on the notice, the current lot per town code is 34,237 square feet, or approximately 7.8 acres. Again, the property overlooks Napeague Bay and currently benefits from a 20,340 square foot scenic easement, which was implemented as part of the subdivision. The bulk of the property is located in the AE10 flood zone, and the lowest point, as noted, is located where you access the property, which is about 3.4 feet. And the peak of the property at the Dune Crest line is 10.7 feet, both which are noted on the survey before you. In the early part of this project planning, the idea was to make the site as compact as possible, which would allow for a larger scenic easement than what currently exists. This concept was currently developed, but it did create a challenge, being that the first floor had to be at least elevation 12, given the FEMA and the contour of the property. Ultimately, what we have before you is a proposed house with the first floor of 2,038 square feet and a second floor of 1,888 square feet, totaling 3,926 square feet. As noted, there's a proposed front and rear porch with decking first and second floor, along with a roof deck, proposed pool, spa, and IA septic system. The proposed building coverage will be 3,241 square feet, where 5,999 is permitted, and a proposed total lot coverage of 6,336 square feet, where 15,999 is permitted. So we're well within the allowable lot coverage. The house also otherwise meets all dimensional zoning code requirements, setbacks, coverage, clearing, gross floor area, height, and pyramid. As noted, we're proposing an IA septic system, and the proposed location in large part was driven by the grading of the property. And we wanted to avoid having to put a retaining wall along the access easement, which wouldn't be in kind with the existing property. And with respect to the proposed location of the septic system, as noted on the TAM, we will be preserving the duneland soils, and the proposed revegetation of beach grass will be installed after the implementing of the installation of the septic system. The proposed project also includes an additional scenic easement of 13,940 square feet. As a result, the total scenic easement on its property will equal approximately 34,297 square feet, which is in excess of the lot area per town code of 34,237 square feet. And that's shown on the survey before you as well. The applicant has obtained letters of non-jurisdiction from the DEC, as well as red stamp approval from the health department for the proposed septic system. When analyzing the neighboring properties, this house proposed will be keeping in the surrounding neighborhood. It's a lot of substantially larger than the neighboring waterfront parcels, as well as the lots across the street. We provided an analysis to show the square footage of all those houses. I'm happy to get into that if needed. And with respect to the TAM, one of the main concerns noted was the concern over the current and historic erosion. We certainly took that into consideration in doing our plan. And as you can see, we meet all the necessary required setbacks from the dune crest line. And also, as noted before, and as shown in the pictures, the neighboring lot 421 Cranberry Hole Road, which was approved in 2008. And as a comparison, our house will be situated substantially further back from that house and from the dune crest line. And then, again, as noted, this lot has been disturbed, as at one point there was a road running through it to the fish factory. The proposed house is reasonable and consistent with the neighboring parcels. The house will be situated significantly further back from the bluff than the other houses along Cranberry Hole Road. The proposed location of the house, in large part, is due to the low grading at the access point. And if we were to shift it back any further, it would create a substantial need for variances for pyramid and height, that together with the FEMA. Again, the owner is proposing a substantial scenic easement to further secure and stabilize the bluff area and to preserve the native vegetation, beach grass, and so forth on the property. The owners also submitted that we will covenant that this will remain a 4-bedroom house, and any additional changes to the property would have to come to the house. We have to come before you for additional variance. Again, as the site has experienced some erosion over the years, we've considered that in all legal standards and meet all required setbacks. All waterfront sites are going to continue to experience erosion, and this board will continue to process these applications. But when we're doing the NSRP standards, we offer that we have met the standards before them and all necessary code. The proposed project corresponds with the general purposes of subsections A through M of section 255-1-11 of the town zoning code. Property, as noted, is proposing a 3,926 square foot residence in an appropriate residentially zoned location. It's in keeping with the development in the neighborhood. In no discernible way does the project cut against the purposes of the town zoning. The relevant natural resources here is the dune crest, and we believe this application agrees with the town's goals for protecting this natural resource. The current application offers a significantly larger scenic easement than what currently exists in order to protect the vegetation and the dune crest. There's no evidence or even discussion in the memo as to how this negatively impacts the dune crest, and what we propose exceeds the minimum required setbacks from the dune crest. As for the general standards of a special permit, the section identifies 13 standards. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're mostly practical standards, include parking, buffer screening, adjacent properties, and so forth. Without listing these standards, we agree that there's no evidence suggesting or in the memo that this project does not conform to each of the special permit general standards. Proposed house at 3,926 square feet is well within the allowable GFA and lot coverages as I noted, and is consistent with the neighborhood. All this conforms to the general standards, so therefore I suggest that we do meet the standards for NRSP. And for these reasons, the applicant has established that this project will not diminish, pollute, degrade, or place in peril the dune crest. The beach vegetation that will be undisturbed has already been disturbed in the past via the access road, and the area that has been left untouched will continue to be left untouched. As noted, the scenic easement will protect the dune crest, including the peak elevation of 10.7 as shown in the survey. So we're preserving a substantially larger area of this property. And again, this project is consistent with the NRSP standards, and for these reasons, we ask that the board approve this application tonight. Happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions, board members? I mean, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
If we can go. If you take a look at the drawings, you're proposing a garage. Can you talk about that garage? What type of grading is going to happen in order to make that garage work? If you go to the building plans.
I also believe Katie Osicki from Easton Land Planning should be on the line, and I'm going to have to defer a lot of these technical questions to her.
Okay.
So it would be helpful to get her on the line if we can.
Katie online?
I do have one caller holding, and that might be the person.
Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay.
Let that caller in.
She said she'd be calling in.
Unmuting last four digits of 2007.
Hello, caller.
Hi, Chairman. This is Katie.
Hi, Katie. How are you? Katie, might have a few questions for you. Good. Do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. So a couple of questions pertaining to the garage. It looks like the garage is partially above ground. It's going to be partially below ground. What's going on there?
So the grade at the grade at the front of the property is around 3. So there will be regrading, and I believe that is actually shown on the septic plan. So I don't know if you guys can pull that up, but we can certainly submit a grading plan that shows it a little bit more around the house to address where the garage is. But there will definitely be a little bit of regrading to make the septic system work.
Okay, that's the regrading for a septic system we understand, but we don't want any substantial regrading on the property itself. If you take a look at the elevation of the house, let me just see what we got here. We got the top of the ridge is 39 feet, right? Let me just see, I lost it. It's 39 feet.
Yes.
The grade, natural grade that goes through the house at that point is elevation 6. So that means the height of that ridge is going to be 33 feet above grade. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
What's the maximum height?
Well, it's 32. So.
Right. So we got to have an issue there.
I'll have to double check with Will on that. Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to talk to Will on the elevations. But yeah, that would be a foot off. You're correct.
As you enter that garage, is there going to be any retaining walls or anything to contain the grade?
There wasn't a plan to be. I can certainly talk to the architect Will regarding that. If there will
I think we need to see more of that because that's going to affect the overall site plan, no?
Correct, yes.
Also, yeah, it looks like the height and pyramid are pretty much maxing out even on the other side of the house. So just got to be careful of what we do. I don't want to see, we want to maintain the grade as much as possible, natural grade as much as possible on a site.
which I understand. So I will reach out to Will, and if possible, if we could leave the record open to make a resubmission regarding the elevations, and if there is a need for a retaining wall to enter the garage.
Okay, thank you. Board members, any other questions?
Yes, I have a couple, Mr. Chair. You know, if we go back to that lower level plan, there are 3 storage rooms down in here, and looking at the section, the height there reads at 7'8". So I think the board would be interested to know that in long term, this is not going to be converted to living space. At 7'8", it's possible. I'm not exactly sure. It's not detailed completely, but it's certainly quite a bit of space down on that lower level for storage. And it's not inconceivable that someone would come back to us looking to have that turned into some other space, some other usable living space. That's a concern. And then I noticed these notes on this here that appear to be pilings. There's no foundation or piling plan included in this, and I'm wondering about that and just how it might affect what we're doing in terms of final grade. And I'd like to know more about that. So if he's going to submit to us, I'd like to see the foundation plan here more than just the outline of what the footprint is to see what we have in terms of section. I know there's a section there, but there's not a real detail on that. So that's a concern to me. And then I just think in general, I know it was mentioned here in the presentation, it wasn't by you, Katie, but we still have great concern for the fact that the adjacent property lost 37 feet in 20 years, and we're going to be looking at that long term. So what we do in terms of an easement long term to somehow mitigate that movement will have to be really well defined in terms, in my way of looking at it, in the proposal on what goes on within this, and that'll be worked out with the building department within this easement. I think we have plenty of evidence of what we've seen up and down the run here. So I'm very concerned about what we think this was going to look like in another 10 years. We should be looking out in terms of protecting both the environment and the surrounding area some 30 years when we do make these decisions. And this one here looks to me like we have to have a real put a fine eye on what we think we're approving in a house this size in this kind of vulnerable position. So anyway, I'd like to know that the easement is going to have the kind of planting plan comes up to fully up to the standards of the planning department, and that you work hand in hand on that.
I'm gonna, if you're done, I'll jump in and try to answer some of those questions if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
So to start with the living, they're not planning on having any living space below that first floor because it wouldn't meet code because they can't have finished space below the FEMA line there. So they're happy to. I mean, they're not planning on that. So there's no in the future for that. So that, I think that answers that question. I'm sure Will can put together a bit more of a comprehensive plan for the foundation plan. They were planning, it's an AE zone, not a VE zone. So it was going to be, they were going to have kind of flood vents down there, and then there were going to be pilings for the decking that was going to the pool. But I can certainly, I can have Will give you a little bit more detailed plan since we'd be giving you elevations anyway. And then in terms of the easement, I know that Mike was originally the planner on this, and now since he's left, Tyler kind of stepped in. But we did talk about doing a planting plan, and he didn't suggest it. I mean, obviously, we would, if you guys want a planting plan, we can certainly provide that, and that could be a condition of approval. But in terms of the area that is on the water side of where the proposed improvements were, Mike at the time had thought that it was fine the way it was, and there wasn't any need to kind of beef up that planting. And then he had suggested just planting beach grass in the areas that would be disturbed. At one point, we discussed possibly screening, but that doesn't really seem to be in keeping with the neighborhood.
Okay.
Katie, I'm looking at a drawing. I'm looking at a schematic on, I'm not sure what page it is because these drawings are not numbered. But there's a schematic section on 8/6/2021 date. Most of the schematics show a pitched roof, but this particular schematic looks like it appears to be a flat roof structure. I don't know if we can pull up those drawings, share screen with them.
Yeah, I think it's, Roy, is it the last page there with regard to the plan?
Right there.
One section is, there is a roof deck, so that's showing that from that angle, and that's why there's, on some of, if you look at the elevations, they show a 25-foot max and then a 32-foot max.
Okay, all right. Anybody else have any questions?
Just a comment. It's, the pool, I know it's outside of the variance, but considering, so looking at the photos that member Severis showed us with all that nice dune vegetation, there was a lot of discussion about meeting the setbacks from the dune crest, but I still have some concerns about a pool being that close. It's just, I believe in the TAM, it said it's 104 feet or 103.5 feet, which is still pretty close to where it would need a variance. And there's a concern there that for natural resources preservation of that dune vegetation, along with the information in the TAM that references the erosion in this portion of the town and the rate at which it's, and the concern in the TAM about the increased frequency, intensity, and the fragility of the dune land soils, and suggested maybe a smaller residence in scale would be more appropriate.
Adding to that, I think that's why Tyler Borsak's TAM also recommended putting the house at the lowest elevation, because you would, if you put it there, there would be less disturbance in the dune crest area, and you'd preserve the vegetation that's there.
So one of the
I have the same concerns as Member Brewer.
I'm wondering if we
when
should
the
go
house
to
gets pushed closer to the access easement, it's very hard to meet the pyramid as well as the height because of the grade drops off there. And if it turns into a one-story house, then the house gets much more sprawled out. And one of the conversations early on was try to make it as compact as possible. So that's where the design ended up where it was, to try to eliminate the need for any variances.
My biggest concern, especially having gone to the site, is the scope and size of this project for this particular parcel. That's my concern.
What is the size of the pool?
Mm-hmm.
In the notice, I believe.
376 square feet for the pool and
It's a
spa.
large pool.
it gives a square foot. I'm just trying to tell.
Yep.
It is a big pool. Where's the TAM?
It's a 40 by 18, says on the site plan.
Yep.
You understand our concern here, Katie. I
And-
mean, it's a very volatile piece of property that there's a lot of evidence on this stretch that shows our concern is legit.
Which I understand, and I mean, one of the things too, I mean, to look at also is this part of where this house is going to be is substantially further back than all the other ones. I know that the property next to it, I believe in the TAM it referenced that there's roughly 60 feet. And this is going to be, it's going to be 100, so a little more than 100 actually.
Do you know what year that house was built?
I believe
It was built in 2001.
Yeah.
The one I referenced in my field inspection was 2001.
Right, okay.
So it's lost quite a bit of footage since that time.
Lost 37 feet in 20 years.
That's right.
Right. Norms are getting tougher.
And other parcels in the area have been documented to have lost 8 feet in a matter of months. That's my concern, is the volatility of the area. It's chronic, it's all the time, and there's a lot going on this parcel. There's a pool, there's a spa, there's decking.
Would you guys be willing to let us leave the record open and we can address some of these issues?
Yes, I think we would. I think it would make sense. Board members, should we go to Tyler and
Yeah.
let's hear from Tyler, and then maybe we can circle back to that.
Good evening, Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department. This parcel obviously is located on Cranberry Hill Road. The northern part of the lot bounds on Napeague Bay, which is a New York State significant habitat, and the Peconic Estuary critical environmental area component. The unimproved areas along Cranberry Hill Road are characterized by intact rolling dunes on which some of our most sensitive species of vegetation and wildlife inhabit. To the south of Cranberry Hill Road is part of Napeague State Park and is wholly located within the scenic area of statewide significance. This vacant lot resembles the same ecosystem on the north side of the road, containing rolling dunes and significant high-quality beach vegetation. The parcel is located in Coastal Erosion Overlay Zone 2, which is an area that does not allow for the construction of hardened structures without obtaining a variance from the zoning board. Development along Cranberry Hill Road should be closely scrutinized and monitored, as the coastline on this north side is one of the most dynamic areas in town. Parcels along this stretch of road have been known to lose feet from the dune crest within a single year. The subject parcel is one of the most dynamic along that stretch of road. The Cherry Point minor subdivision was filed in April of 2004. The dune crest, which was initially flagged and verified by the planning department in 2000, before that sub-waiver application, and since that flagging in 2000, the change on the west side of the parcel was a loss of 63 feet, and on the east side was a loss of 70 feet. That's in a 21-year span, averaging about 3 feet per year along that period of time. Other parcels in the area have been documented to have lost 8 feet in a matter of months. The erosion in the area is both chronic and episodic. The area is battered throughout seasonal storms that have and will continue to increase in both intensity and frequency due to climate change. The structures are cited to meet the 100-foot setback, the pool being its closest at 103 feet. This board originally approved excuse me, a similarly sized residence and pool in 2001 to the immediate west. The residence was similar in size to this application, and the closest structure to the pool was the pool decking at 105 feet from the dune crest. Based on aerial review, that pool decking is currently about 68 feet from the approximate location of the dune crest. The board should discuss that given the increased frequency and intensity of storms, documented erosion and fragile nature of the duneland soils, if a smaller residence and scale appurtenances, or simply relocating the proposed residence may be more appropriate. Reducing the size or simply relocating the proposed residence to be constructed closer to the southeastern lot line and observe a larger setback to the dune crest is a reasonable alternative, which may be better for the long-term natural resource, which is better for long-term natural resources planning, especially when we are well aware of the documented vulnerabilities of the area. The southern lot line on this property is a side yard lot line, which requires a 15-foot setback to the principal structure, which is currently proposed to be set back 30 feet. Increasing the setback to the dune crest and tidal wetland as much as possible should be considered by the board and the applicant for the long-term sustainability of the property. Relocating the residence would also decrease the amount of clearing required on the property, which contains high-quality dune land vegetation across the entire parcel. Reducing the side yard lot line setback from the proposed 30 feet down to the minimum 15 feet would also allow the residence to be located approximately 118 feet from the dune crest, maximizing that area between the residence and the dune. The parcel is immediately adjacent to a town-owned parcel and the state-owned Napeague State Park to the southwest. There's an osprey pole located on the state-owned parcel, which is approximately 100 feet southeast of the subject property. The board should determine if a construction window is appropriate to protect nesting and fledgling birds from March 15th to August 15th of any calendar year, possibly just during the most disruptive portions of construction, like during the excavation, foundations or footings, framing, things like that. Similar conditions have been utilized in the past, most notably in 2001 determination referenced previously on the neighboring property. Ospreys are a species of special concern in New York State, and locally are species that become part of the character of neighborhoods with osprey poles, such as the one nearby this property, which consistently hosts nesting pairs year after year. With construction so close to this nesting site, it may be reasonable to place some sort of restrictions on construction during the breeding season to limit that disruption. Other than that, I can answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions for Tyler? Tyler, you're saying you're saying that the osprey nest, which I fully get, were there restrictions on houses in this neighborhood on the breeding times of the osprey?
Yeah, that was the like March to August window roughly, which was done on the house just to the west.
Okay. Have you had discussions with your client about that, Katie?
We have, and we actually
I
submitted
don't know.
that we would be willing to conform to that. With respect to the most disruptive construction, we would ask if possible to speed up the fence inspection and maybe just give a memo to the building department to the best they can expedite reviews just so we can adhere to that timeline. But that was submitted in our construction protocol, our submission.
Okay, great. Thanks. I'll go through that. All right.
Can I ask Tyler a question? Does the house to the west, the one built in 2001, does that have a pool?
It appears to be. If you go to the site plan on the building plan, it's showing a pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
all right.
And the one just to the west of that has a pool as well, too.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll highlight the one, obviously, that we're looking at, and then, yeah, the neighbor, and then further over to the west as well as swimming pools.
Yeah, but those were constructed, well, we know the one next door is constructed.
Well, the one to the west is 2001.
Right.
And the one I'm not sure.
What would that address be?
Any other questions, or should we go to Katie and see how she wants to move forward?
So, would you guys be okay?
Brian or Katie?
Submitted. We left.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Echo there.
We'd request that a written submission be open so we can take this back to our client, address, and resubmit. 30 days.
The record?
So we're leaving the record open for submissions, or you're coming back to the board? Because are we getting elevation plans, foundation plan?
We're going to have to submit all that, correct. So we need to get that together. We need to discuss, your comments with the applicant to the best we can address them, and submit our modified, plans and site plan.
Yeah, so we'll get you an updated set of plans, as well as an updated septic plan and an updated survey from Saskis as well.
And how much time do you need for that?
Can we ask for 30 days from today? If that's okay, and if we need an extension, I can write a letter, but I think that should be okay.
That's fine. I think that's fine. The record chances are the record might even be open longer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a real long list of things.
So we'll leave it at that, Katie?
Yeah, that's fine. And just to address, Denise, your comment earlier, we can certainly leave that up for another 10 days. I don't know what happened to that sign. I don't know if you saw the sign, but it was a pretty substantial sign.
I did. I didn't see the sign. Okay, that's okay.
Katie, I was there on January 6th before the storm, and there was no posting. I don't know what happened to it.
I was there Saturday and Sunday, and there was no posting too. I was there after the storm. Terry was there before the storm.
Yeah, there was no sign of.
I looked. I actually looked for it.
Okay,
we ready? 100 feet in every direction, so I don't know honestly where it went, but I did post it on the day, actually a couple days before.
All right, I think we got that addressed.
Yeah, it happens.
Denise?
We should check to see if there's any callers.
Oh, yes, callers. Matt, is there any callers online?
There are 0 additional callers. Thank you.
Okay.
So do you want me to outline this list of things we're looking for and the 30 days to submit? Yes? Okay. Get ready for this long motion. In the matter of the application of Mohammed Grima, 425 Cranberry Hole Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-128-1-32.1. I make a motion to close the public hearing and leave the record open for 30 days for the submission of a transcript, until it's posted to the East Hampton Town website, and an updated set of plans, an updated survey, elevation plans, addressing the need for a retaining wall with regard to the garage, a foundation plan, and an easement planting plan, condition of approval. I'd also like to leave the record open for comments from any neighbors regarding the Mohammed Grima application, should they want to submit their comments into the record. Do I have a second?
Can I just make one comment
Sure.
regarding the planting plan? Do you guys want more substantial plants planted, or is that something that we can work with the planning department after the fact as a condition of approval?
Yeah, I would just like to speak up and say that I'm the one who raised that point, and I'd be comfortable with the planning department working with you on it. My concern is that the planning department is fully satisfied with the planning plan, is why I raised the point.
I would agree.
I agree.
Okay, thank you.
So with that clarification, I'll second that.
And I'll concur.
I'll concur.
I concur as well. Thank you. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Okay, I think ties up our hearings, so we go to our work session. I think we have an extension of time. Adios Holdings LLC, former Schlowendorf at 89 Bayview Avenue, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-106-01-5.4, extension of time to maintain valid NRSP and continue construction. Is that you, Tyler?
That was actually reviewed by our new tech, John Papajohn. I thought you were going to table that and do that next week.
Yeah, because it did go quite long. We can table that. Board members, you okay with that?
Yes.
I'm fine with it.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then we have the minutes, approval of minutes. So can we have a motion to approve the minutes of December 14th?
Oh, I confess I did not review them.
I did. I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes, draft minutes of December 14th, 2021 as written.
And I will second.
I'll concur with that, or should I abstain?
I'll abstain.
I concur.
Okay.
Then we have a resolution. Hitchin, formerly Martin Herman, 26 Seaside Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk Tax number 300-32-07-06.
Well, wait. Oh,
What is that?
I thought council said we were going to do these next week.
I thought so too. Do we have a resolution today?
No, there was one resolution, and if I'm correct, and I think Laura can confirm this, is that it was done because of what we call a scrivener's error in the original. There was a typo. So we have that corrected and redrafted.
What is that one?
That is for Hinchin, 26 Seaside Avenue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was originally Herman.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to pull it up?
That'd be great.
Yeah, I thought in your email that said we would address it next week.
No, those were the other two that have been drafted. Yeah.
Well, it was Colassa and Herman.
Colassa and Herman will be on the agenda for next week. This one was actually due to be, this is not it.
Okay.
This was just a resolution that's already been, it's already been approved. This one was just to correct the typo. So it's just a formality.
Oh, this one is the formality. Colassa?
No.
It says Colassa on the
Laura,
screen.
do we have the resolution that was to be?
Yes, it's Hitchens, and it was formerly known as Martin Herman. There was a typo that Nancy Lynn had to fix and correct. Try to find which one that was.
So this was one we had already done?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
It was a determination that was already done. It's just I guess the applicant or somebody had identified a typo that should have been corrected. So we just kind of, or Nancy Lynn redrafted so that you could adopt it.
Okay, but you called it Hinchin. Which is,
yes.
That's
Hinchin is formerly Herman.
Herman, right, okay.
Do we
So
know
we just need a motion to approve this, to correct the typo.
Correct.
Okay.
That's a question.
All right. Well, I can do that if it was a simple typo. So for the Martin Herman, now Hinchin, at 20, this was a modification that we had done, if you recall, about the dumbwaiter to go help them with their stuff to bring it up. 26 Seaside Avenue in Montauk, tax map 300-32-07-06. I make a motion to approve the resolution with the corrected typo as written.
You're approving the determination. Yes.
For the determination as written.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll concur.
Second. I have to
I'll
abstain.
concur. That's right.
Okay, and I concur as well. Thank you, board members. That was well done. I'm going to then maybe seek my new vice chair to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, I would like to do that, Mr. Chair, but first I can congratulate you on getting through your first meeting. It was a nice trim one, and I think we can look forward to more like it. And nice job logging us through. I'd like to make a motion to close the January 11th, 2022 meeting of the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals at 9:40 p.m.
I'll second that.
I will concur.
I will concur.
And I will concur. Thank you very much, board members. We look forward to the next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, all.
Good night, all.